Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the dark web. So what has happened is that a Kerala engineer was held for selling drugs online. Now, of course, online using legal platforms, having your own website in the usual way that we do it. In that manner, you won't be able to sell drugs because doing that is illegal. So this person was actually using the dark web, which is of course also the part of the internet, but not the usual part of the internet. So what is this news all about? This news is about a 34-year-old mechanical engineer hailing from Kerala who was arrested in Kerala and was charged for selling drugs. Now, the drugs that he was selling was the LSD, that is lysergic acid diethylamide. So you won't have to remember the exact formula and stuff, but at least by the name of it in prelims, you should be able to guess that this is a drug which is of course illegal to sell. You cannot sell it as a form of drug over the dark web. Now he was selling LSD and ketamine using the dark web. At the same time, during the arrest, currency, that is cryptocurrency worth 1 crore was close to 1 crore was also sealed. So in this lecture, we'll dive into the details of the dark web, what it is, how it functions, how someone can actually use it. Of course, we shouldn't, because that is sort of it is illegal. Why I'm saying sort of an illegal? Because it is and it was specifically designed for certain legal activities which were quite critical, and even now it is used for that. But on the dark web, there is illegal things also that are happening. So more on this in this lecture. Before that, the announcement with respect to the new batches that have started and is going to start in the month of August. So you can enroll with Legacy IAS Academy, wherein you get the guidance from the experts who have already gone to the UPSC interview and has experience of 10 years and above in this particular domain. Now, the advantage that you get is, of course, there will be comprehensive coverage of all the GS papers, including all the micro topics. Very important feature is the one-on-one mentorship, which you get from these expert teachers themselves, not from less experienced people. No, nothing like that. These are the same teachers that are going to give you the mentorship. There will be a batch size of 40 students. The batch size is quite small in order to focus on individual students. There will be daily answer writing practice, test series, and a very special offering of Legacy IAS Academy, that is the 360-degree coverage of current affairs, wherein one entire day of every week will be dedicated for your current affairs, wherein throughout the day the current affairs classes are going to take place live. So how you can enroll? You can download the app, you can call this number, or you can log on to our website to get yourself enrolled. Let's continue with the news now. The designation of Edison. So his name is Edison. The designation. What is the designation? When he was caught, it is known that he has been described as India's only level 4 darknet vendor. So in dark web, where there are darknet vendors. Vendors means people who are selling goods and services. They are known as vendors. So there are certain levels to it. And in India, at the 4th level, he is the only one. So how is this level decided? This level with respect to the drug that is being sold. So the drug may have certain amount of potency, and the customer service that is being provided. Based on that, there is levels, and he is the sole one who is at level 4. Remember, the level is decided based on the drug potency as well as the customer services. Now, the question is, what is dark web? So if you look at this picture of an iceberg, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Very less, let's say only 10% is visible above, and it's 90% which is below. So dark web is, of course, this is just a representation that the things are lying below, but the dark web is at the very bottom of it and has this only 5% of exposure is of darknet, which is laying deep down in the internet area. So what is it? It is a hidden part of internet which is accessible only through a certain particular browser. That means through the normal browser that you may use, the Google Chrome, the Internet Explorer, the Mozilla Firefox, it will not be accessible through that. It will be accessible only through a specific browser. Now it requires a special software, that is a software like Tor, that is the onion router. So we'll see what this onion router is. So two things are clear. One, it cannot be accessed through a usual browser. Two, it is of course hidden, and that's why it cannot be accessed. The third thing here is it would require certain software. The one example given here is Tor, that is the onion router. Now what are the features of this dark web? Now since this dark web is hidden, it also hides your IP address. Now what is IP address? IP address is unique. So right now if I use a mobile phone and use internet in that mobile phone, now it can be understood from where it is being used, which part of the world, with the help of the IP address, right? Now this IP address is unique, so it can help in identification, who's using it, from where it is using. But then the dark web hides it completely, so traceability is gone out of the picture. Second, it uses multiple layers of encryption. Multiple layers of encryption. We talked about onion routing. So onion routing, onions have layers, so onion routing basically has layers of routing, so that it becomes difficult to trace from where the signal is getting generated. So this is a small diagram of the layers of the onions. So this is router A, B, C, one inside the other. It's a graphical representation of how the routing happens in order to make it difficult to trace. So it basically has multi layers of encryption. Encryption means coding, which you then need to decode or decrypt to understand what it is. At the same time, it cannot be searched on Google, Yahoo, Bing, this, that, etc. You cannot search it. And it uses the domain name .onion. Now domain name, for example, you have .com, which is worldwide, you have .in, you have .org, organization for NGO and stuff. In the same manner, the domain name here is .onion, which it uses. Now, if you look at the historical background of the dark web, as I said, it is also used for legal things as well. In fact, it was designed for the purpose of certain research, critical research. So it was developed in 1990s by US Naval Research Lab. Right. Subsequently, Tor, the browser that we talked about, the software that we talked about, was developed by Roger Dingledine and his team in the early 2000s. So some years later, this was also developed. Now, initially, it was used for government communication, so that the communication is secure and no one else knows about it. So secure is high level security communication, high level communication, important things, critical things were to be communicated through dark web, and that was its purpose. However, what happened is it transformed. It transformed in the sense that its use transformed from military use to later on becoming civilian use. Now all these uses were still legal, but then it got accessed by others and it has started to be used by others as well illegally. Others as in still the civilians, the person who is arrested is also a civilian, but was started to be used for illegal purposes. So shifted from military use to civilian and then illicit or illegal use. And as of now, it has become a hub for anonymous activities which are being carried out anonymously. Anonymously means you are not able to identify the person who's doing this, and why they are doing so anonymously, because they don't want to be known. Why? Because they are carrying out the illegal activities. I hope that's clear. Now the question is how to access the dark web. So first things first, the downloading of the Tor browser is required. To download that browser, now the traffic gets routed through the global server if once you download this, and the data will be encrypted multiple times. But still it's not clear how to address, right? Because you have a browser, in browser we search and everything shows up. Now here things will not show up. You would have to manually locate the pages on the dark web. So that is a task. Dark web uses the .onion domain. As I've told, there is no built-in search function on the internet. There is a built-in search function. You type something, it appears. On the dark web, it's not there. You have to manually go through pages and stuff and dig deep into it in order to reach where you want to reach. Now, dark web basically is at the very bottom of the iceberg, as I said. Now, this is very interesting reason that have been identified as to why people use dark web. Now, 70.79, that is close to 71% because of anonymity. Now, anonymity need not necessarily be with respect to illegal activities, but majorly it is for illegal activities. It would be because you want to keep it hidden, but not necessarily the case. Then for security purposes, it is more secure, and some of them out of curiosity that they use it. And once you enter, you may not have that much of control as to for what you can use. Then you may think, oh, I am anyhow anonymous, so might as well do whatever I want. But then later what happens? You get caught and arrested because everything is under surveillance. I hope that's clear. So how to access is also clear. Now, what are the uses? There are certain legitimate uses as well as illegal uses. Legitimate uses is to protect the whistleblowers, to protect the journalists, so that you don't know the tracing, you cannot trace the information. For authoritarian countries, in authoritarian countries also, the citizens might want to bypass the rules and regulation of the government. So they might use dark web just to access some movies, series which is banned by their government. For that also it can be done. Security communication for the academicians, for hospitals, for military purposes, so on and so forth. But there are illegal use as well, as we have seen in this case, drugs, as well as weapon market, hacking, malware. Basically malware means viruses, etc., counterfeiting of currency. Identity theft also could be done, contract killing, etc. So all the illegal activities which talks about, be it from giving contracts to killer to do that, etc., etc., can be the uses of dark web. Thank you.